G'day all and welcome back to Freo Faithful for the preview for this Saturday night's game against Port Adelaide at the Adelaide Oval. A bit of a danger game, a bit of a banana peel is how the game's been dubbed in the media from a Fremantle point of view. And I would have to agree because we've never beaten the power at the Adelaide Oval. Last time we beat them in South Australia was back in 2012 at Amy Stadium, Old Football Park. So it's been a while between drinks since we go over Port Adelaide in Adelaide. So it's going to be a tough task no matter what. It's the break of the hoodoo that we have to do. But that being said, we've broken a few curses this year. Well, curses. Coming off the bye, we've been terrible in recent years. We didn't have a great game, but we still won. We beat the Giants at NG for the first time ever. We beat the Suns on the Gold Coast for the first time in 10 years. So who's not to say we can beat Port Adelaide this Saturday night, especially given we are the heavy favourites. Port Adelaide, 4.10. Fremantle, $1.24, steep favourites. Going into this game. The Power have made 4 changes. Jace Burgoyne is out injured. Matt Whitlock, Hugh Jackson, and Dylan Williams have all been omitted. Coming in, Connor Rozee, Jack Lukosius, Willie Rioli, and Christian Moraes. So some pretty handy ins, you could say. For us, Oscar McDonald omitted just as a result of our skip coming back for the first time in 5 weeks. So yeah, big fan of Omac's game last Sunday against Carlton. However, we need Moose back in the team. We need Moose back in the team for the rest of the year. So I'm not saying this with any malicious. Is that a word? I'm not sure if malicious's a word, but there's no malicious intent behind what I'm about to say. But I hope Oscar McDonald's not in the team for the rest of the year, because that would mean one of Brennan Cox or Alex Pearce or maybe Luke Ryan has copped an injury. So let's hope Moose stays out on the park for the rest of the year. Now, unfortunately, Hayden Young's had to make way due to injury, but news is coming out that he should be back maybe next week, but likely by the Bulldogs game in round 24, which is going to, the 2 games coming up after this one are huge no matter what. But having Hayden Young in there would only enhance what we've got to play for and what he can bring to our team. Nat Fyfe comes into the team for him. Now, you can pretty much lock in that Fyfe will be sub. He's been named on the bench. And the only other real candidate on there is Neil Erasmus. But you're not going to sub someone 3 weeks in a row. So you can pretty much lock in that Raz will be rewarded with a full game. He basically played a full game last week, given how early Youngie got injured. But yeah, Raz should play a full game. Fyfe should be sub, and hopefully he can throw his weight around late in the game. That big body. So yeah, very excited to see Fyfe back out there. Now, last time we played the Power was back in round 11. We won by 49 points, 15-10-100 to 7-9-51. We actually had quite a reasonably different team to what we're putting out Saturday night. So we did have Moose in that team. In fact, that was actually the game Moose got the 3-week suspension, and he's only ended up playing 1 game since. Jeremy Sharp was in that team. We had Luke Jackson solo rucking. We had Corey Wagner. We had Cooper Simpson. So it was a vastly different team, to be honest. You could probably say the same for Port Adelaide. They had Jeremy Finlayson, Dante Vizentini, Sam Powell-Pepper, Logan Evans, Miles Bergman, Jace Burgoyne. It was a very different team to what Port Adelaide put out back in round 11. Jason Horton-Francis didn't actually play in that game either. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. We obviously won that game big. Murphy Reid was probably close to best on, kicked 4 goals. Luke Jackson had a huge day at the office against Dante Vizentini, who was on his debut. Was it? No, it wasn't his debut. That was the other Vizentini that made his debut against Essendon. That being said, Dante Vizentini is still a very young ruckman, and Luke Jackson went to work with him. 38 touches, a goal, and 21 disposals. Caleb Sarong had 29 of his own. It was Murphy Reid who kicked the 4 that really got us over the line. So, yeah, we went to work at ground level in that game, given how wet it was. Now, it's going to be a dry game on Saturday night at the Adelaide Oval, so I think one of the main things we have to get right is that mid-to-forward connection, which hasn't necessarily been a weakness for us. But one thing that has been a weakness is the ascendancy we've been getting out of the middle. So, getting enough constant field position in the forward half to be able to connect with our forwards is critical, given the conditions of the game and given that we can really pounce on this Port Adelaide team if we get ascendancy out of there. They don't have Miles Bergman. They don't have Jason Horton-Francis. We can really get a hold of them. Zach Butters was tagged out of the game last week by O'Shane Mullen. Now, Corey Wagner did a really good job on him earlier this year. We're probably thinking that Jager O'Meara will be the guy that will get a job on him. It's going to be hard to run with him, but Jommy's done a few good roles in the past couple of weeks on Harley Reid and George Hewitt. So I trust O'Meara to be able to mitigate Butters. On the other end, Willem Drew's likely going to go to Caleb Sarong. So there's going to be a bit of a tag watch in the middle of the ground. Both teams trying to mitigate the opposition's best clearance winner. In terms of the key position areas, Port Adelaide are a little bit undersized, given they don't have a Sava Radigalia as a third key back. The one of the few teams that have 3 key backs and can directly match up against our 3 key forwards. But it's Brandon Zerk-Thatcher, Alira, and likely Lockie Jones that will play a bit taller. So I'm expecting Zerk-Thatcher to get Tracy, Alira to get Amos, and Jones to get Voss. But it's pretty hard to determine. I don't think they necessarily match up amazingly against our key forwards. I think we've probably got them for pace. I think Voss will be able to burn off a Lockie Jones, whether that's with size or speed. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch. They've really just got the two-headed monster down there. They've got Georgiades and Lukosius. Ollie Lord, who will go through there too, but it'll mainly be Brennan Cox, who I think will be given the role on Mitch Georgiades, who kicked 3 goals on us earlier this year, and his form since then has been immaculate. So, I think one of the keys to beat Port is stop Georgiades, stop Port, because they've got such a limited avenue to goal. When you look at Port's wins this year since the bye, probably an anomaly against the Giants, considering they only kicked 9 goals that game, but Georgiades only kicked 1. But apart from that, 3 other wins they've had since the bye. They beat Melbourne by 25, he kicked 7 goals, 4. They beat Carlton by 50, he kicked 5 goals, 2. And they beat West Coast by 26, and he kicked 3 goals, 5. So yeah, they are so reliant on a big Mitch Georgiades game ever since the bye to get them over the line, and even pre-bye, it's just very, very important to how Port Adelaide play. So if they don't get him to fire, they don't have a chance. And I'm expecting Cox to go to him. Maybe Pearce will sort of rotate on him, but given Cox is, given the job on the best key forward week in, week out, I'm trusting Coxie, given his form this year, and especially how good he was on Sunday against Carlton. Another key to win is having a strong start, and it's something we got completely wrong against the Blues. We obviously conceded the first 4, first 5. We found ourselves down by 4 goals at half-time, and we had to fight our way back with a 50-point turnaround or whatnot. We absolutely have to have a strong start against a Port Adelaide team that will have a bit of emotion about them, given, it's one of Ken's last games. Boak's retirement announcement just got released this week. It's not his last game, but there'll still be a bit of emotion there. But the bottom line is, emotion doesn't last long, and we are just the better footy side. So if we can get ascendancy out of the middle straight away and just smash them in field position, we have to come out of the gates hard and just pile on a first quarter score, because Port don't get going when they get piled on. I trust us to bounce back with resilience if they kick a few on us. I don't want that to happen, but if we can get the strong start, it will go so far in just, not letting them in the game, because it's sort of a habit we've got, letting these sorts of teams in game. I'm not trying to underestimate Port, but they're a team we absolutely should be pouncing on. So we've got a habit of letting these sorts of teams, be in games for a while before we, fully trounce them. I don't think we can let them do that. I think we just have to come out of the gate strong and really put a score on them. And the last point I want to make is, just being strong at the contest, I think gives us the win. We've found ways to win as of late without being very good at the contest per se, but it's not sustainable. And shutting Butters out of the game with O'Meara is the first step. And after that, they've got no one, because Bergman's injured, Horn Francis is injured. They've just got no firepower out of the middle. So just let the big bodies throw their weight around, inject Fife in the game, fingers crossed late on, fingers crossed we don't have any injuries, and especially let Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson just get their hands all over Jordan Sweet. Because, they're going in with a solo ruck. Jordan Sweet's not exactly a world beater. I think Sean and LJ can really get a hold of him. And as a result of that, repeated inside 50 entries, I think will absolutely destroy a pretty lackluster Port Adelaide backline. Like, you look at a few of their smaller defenders, and I wouldn't say Connor Rosie or Kane Farrell that particularly defensively accountable. So I think our smalls could have a really big day. I think Murphy Reid could be in for another big one, given he kicked 4 on them last time. I hope Isaiah Dudley gets the opportunity to have a big game as well. Shea Bolson feels like he's due. So given the lack of accountability in their small defenders, I'm expecting a big game from a few of our small forwards. And if it's try, we'll be able to connect with our tools anyway. Given I just think we can trounce a Zerk Thatcher or a Lira who's pretty out of form. So, yeah, that's my thought process. I'm aware of the danger game aspect, the banana peel, but I'm going to be picking Fremantle by 32. I think we get this win, and if, results go our way this weekend and over the next few weeks, we just have to keep winning, and we can find ourselves in the top 4. But most importantly, if we win this weekend, we basically lock ourselves in the top 8 for the first time since 2022, which is super exciting. So we just absolutely have to win this weekend, not get too ahead of ourselves, and then we'll be all arrogant on Monday's podcast and, start talking about top 2 spots and premierships. Thank you all for watching Up the Dockers. I'll be live for the watch party Saturday night, the fan cam Saturday night. Last time we did the watch party was the Collingwood game. It was lots of fun watching the game with the Freo Faithful community, so come join us for that. Yet again, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.